Hi.
So,
Hey, hi,
welcome
Nancy.
everyone. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Mhm.
So, I'm just going to mute everybody for now, okay? And you can unmute yourself if needed. But so welcome everyone to a plan for chronic pain. And we just want to make sure, hey, we had a few more people come on, Arlene and Deborah. Great, showing their faces. And we just really want to move forward, want to disrupt any chronic pain. Okay, and there are ways to do that. And so that's really the fun thing. And I know it firsthand when I met Janel. I was in Colorado, and she probably, I don't know if she knew this or not, but I was coming off of just like, I was 45. I had chronic inflammation in my back, digestive issues that were pulling myself over. So I was in Hawaii. I moved to Colorado and I went to a nutritionist and got my diet sorted out, which helped a ton. But also, I switched up how I was exercising, and definitely because um, uh, I've been always in some kind of physical business as a dancer, yoga, personal trainer. I overdid it, and I had to take and start moving really slowly for a few years before I could move fast again. It took a while for me to unwind the pain my body was in, and so I firsthand, like, this is what was happening when I was 45, almost 60, no chronic pain. So that's where I'm an expert in my own body at this. But I always have a lot of opinions for other people too. But what I really wanted to do is introduce you to Janel Ferrin Anderson. And I met Janel when I lived in Colorado and we were in yoga therapy training together. And then, she was super cool back then. Like, one of those people like, I want to be cool like Janel. And then we weren't together for a long time. I think we just kind of pulled it together during this pandemic to connect. And it's like, she had 3 more kids. She like does all this cool stuff and got her doctorate since I knew her. And so I'm going to let her fully introduce herself. But she's amazing. I just see pictures of her, backcountry skiing um, but then the next social media post is about making sauerkraut. So I would like to introduce you to dear friend Janel.
Hi, everyone. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you, Nancy. This is such an important topic and one that I get to work with a lot and see people make a lot of improvements, which is awesome. So I don't know what you want me to say, but just like in kind of a nutshell, I have been obsessing for a couple decades about getting to the root of why things happen. And I've worked a ton of jobs and just keep studying things until I finally, a couple years ago, feel like I don't know why everything, obviously, but I found a system to kind of help peel back the layers and help people become the expert, like you said, of their own body. So, but I was like ferociously just like trying to get to a system that made sense and got to study a lot of cool things along the way. But I finally feel like I'm here, and it's awesome because there's a lot of pain out there and a lot of symptoms, and there's a lot we can do. So I'm really happy to be in this community and involved with Nancy, of course.
Great. Thank you, Janelle. And I think one of the things that Janelle, just like when she said this one word, we were doing another webinar together. She said this one word, get organized. And I was like, that's it. That is absolutely it, is to take the time to get organized. And one of the things that we need to do is to break through some unhealthy cultural habits that we think just should be taking care of us. And the things is that in this generation, we are not getting the exercise that even my mom did because of, I can sit at the computer all day long and I'm still not done with my work. And then the standard American diet is, you have to you can eat anything you want. You have to throw out that diet first and then rebuild it up. It's so detrimental. And the other piece is active relaxation. We tend to think that relaxation is just sitting and watching something on TV. Well, that might relax your body, but it doesn't do the work your mind needs. Your brain organ needs some more super quiet time. Like some of you remember when we used to just sit out on the porch and just sit there, right? And that, we have to actively replace some of these things now. And I just would wonder if, Janel, if you could talk a little bit about your thoughts on that and just dovetail into chronic pain.
Yeah, absolutely. So chronic pain is really complex. Let me just start by saying that. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So it's really complex. And so how I come at it and how I approach it is by addressing the root cause of most chronic symptoms and diseases, which are involve inflammation and digestion, gut health. And it's this process because everyone is unique. It's not an easy formula, but it is, and it can be a methodical process to, like I said before, to peeling back the easiest layers first. And a lot of people get resolution. And if you don't, okay, you peel back another layer. Did we get resolution? No. Okay. Peel back another layer. And if we keep coming back to this idea of root cause being inflammation, and what causes inflammation for each individual can be different, but there are some basic places to start that are the biggest drivers of inflammation, chronic inflammation, and then gut health. So because, and I'll, obviously go into those more, but because our gut is the barrier between the outside world and the inside world, what we eat and how we eat and the integrity of that boundary can be one of the biggest stressors we face every day. So kind of one step at a time, doing the easiest things first, addressing those two things. And yeah, I definitely watch people with also, even if chronic pain wasn't their, driving reason to come see me, often it is gut pain or joint pain, muscle pain, headaches. But even if it's not, women in my hormone group will say, oh, that's so weird. My hip hasn't hurt since we started. And, all of these little things go away when you go for the root cause. So that's how I approach it. And that's how I've had the most clinical success with people. And it's not always super easy, but the more you try, it's a process, it's a journey, it's a learning experience, getting to know your own body. And you don't need to listen to me and Nancy. You can listen to your own body. You can try these things that we are going to offer and suggest, and then you try it on yourself and you say, oh, that was great, I'm ready for more, or nope, that wasn't it. Let's, peel back another onion. So when like I said, I focus on digestion and inflammation. And then also for pain, we can use nutrients and herbs and specific things to help with the acute pain while we work on what's driving the pain.
Nice. Thank you for that. And that's what, like, as when I work with people, it's always like going to the doctor to try on glasses. And they go, does this work? Does this work? We just don't go to the doctor and they say, here's the glasses. Oh, this is what I think is best for you. It's this trying on process until you get the right prescription. And it requires some mindfulness. When I do this, how do I feel? And that noticing. And I think is one of the ways when I am able to work with people over a long term, and we can, and exactly what you're saying, peel off the layers, peel off the layers. Some of the things that people get caught up with pain, and this is like actually one of the biggest is, oh, is this what aging is? Aging is that I'm just stepping into pain. And that's like dangerous in a lot of ways, because one, it means you don't do the inquiry to figure out what the pain is about. You're just accepting it, right? And so that is a process that it'll just like, getting older. This is what getting older is like. I think for me, because I had chronic pain when I was younger and even in my 20s, which is why I started yoga, because my hips were in such pain. So I'm like, no, it's just not. It's like when I wasn't taking care of my body, that's when I had pain. And one of the things that I like to talk to people about as far as how exercise helps is exercise just helps reduce pain. Okay, because of the hormones that are released during exercise. So going out and taking a walk might be able, then just getting those happy hormones, the dopamine, the endorphins up, can help reduce pain. Okay, the other thing is, as we get older, we lose muscle mass, and that's why we can get pain in our joints, and that's why we get injured easier, because we're trying to do something that our muscles aren't strong enough for. And I especially like for women, and this happens to men too, but keep your upper body strong. Get those dumbbells out, move them around. That strengthen the body, and then it will help reduce injury too, because injury can come from falling, right? And then there's some pain that can be turned into chronic pain. But if you have been keeping your body in a good place of tone, those muscles will help you so that you don't fall. So aging isn't necessarily about losing muscle tone. You do need to take care of it more than you did when you were younger, but it doesn't have to be about losing muscle tone. And at any age, you can increase your muscle tone, which increases your hormones, increases your immune system. So exercise is one of the disruptors. And oftentimes, that's where my years of experience to come in and sit with someone and help them find their core strength, even if they can't get on and off the floor. So it's like, I have tons of chair yoga exercises. One of the things I'll say is if you have pain in your knees, especially if it's walking downstairs, your thighs are not strong enough. So sometimes there's some really practical root causes for exercise. So not only general exercise releases hormones, which may help you feel better, and pain in your joints can be due to lack of muscle tone and lack of flexibility, being out of balance in some way. So
let me just say, Nancy, I have a question for you to ask about what you're saying. So do you find that when people have injuries, they move less and then, exponentially cause more pain, right? So
when I was in Colorado and I was working with the personal trainers there, one of the things that I asked, what is like this sense of arthritis, and I'm not talking about rheumatoid arthritis, kind of that general category of arthritis. And I've been told your back has arthritis when I was, 20 years ago. My back doesn't hurt anymore. It's a catch-all term. But when you get injured and then you don't do your work to get yourself back to where you were, you do set yourself up for things like arthritis. And that's why people that do yoga are tend to look and feel younger in general. So,
and the word arthritis, all itises are inflammation.
Yep. So,
mm-hmm.
And then so let's dovetail to that, from that word arthritis and the itises, it's all about inflammation, into what we need to do with our diet.
Yeah, well, I just can't agree more with what you're saying about physical. That's such an important part. So that was really well said. Um, so I guess let's talk about, well, first let me start off by saying chronic pain isn't the problem, right? So it gets diagnosed and we think, oh, I have chronic pain and that's the problem. That feels like the problem. And I'm not saying that's not a horrible part of, pain in life, but I'm just saying, something's driving that pain. So being curious around that and just shifting your mindset to thinking, what's causing my chronic pain? My body should heal. As long as you're doing all these things and you're keeping strong and there's not like a broken bone or something, obviously, our body should heal and we shouldn't be in pain, like you said, Nancy, even when we're getting older. So let me say inflammation, we kind of throw that around a lot. And I want to just clarify a little bit about what I'm talking about with inflammation. So inflammation is a reaction from our immune system that is a very important reaction. We depend on it to be alive. So inflammation occurs when there's some sort of invader, some sort of insult. So it could be an infection, it could be a cut, a scrape, a splinter, um, uh, anything, toxins. I mean, there's all sorts of more complicated things, but acute inflammation is, what you recognize on your hand when you get a cut. It gets red, it gets swollen, it gets sore, it gets, just painful. So that's inflammation doing its job. It's cleaning things up, it's repairing tissues, it's clearing things out so that you can heal. So that's a great immune response. The problem is when there is repetitive insults that we aren't built to deal with day after day after day after day. So getting to the bottom of what's causing that inflammation is what I love doing. And again, like I said, there's a bit of a methodical way to go about that. And the funny thing is that with gut health, those two are the big root causes. They can really play off each other. It's not so cut and dry like inflammation or gut health. They can be a bit of a chicken and the egg. So that's why I deal with them at the same time. And so I'll just go into inflammation and then talk a little bit about gut health. So inflammation, we want to know if something that we are eating, first and foremost, is causing inflammation. And sometimes our body can have an immune response to specific foods. It can have an immune response to how we are eating those specific foods. Proteins in those foods are often big problems. And then I just kind of got to go into it now because it relates. The integrity of that gut wall also plays a really big role. So if you're someone with a very strong boundary in your gut, then food goes through, it gets digested, and it goes on its way. But if you have disrupted the integrity of your gut wall, which all the new science is showing the majority of Americans do have a disrupted gut, or a hyperpermeable gut is the fancy word for it. But it's just a barrier break in the gut lining. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because even good foods, if you have this leaky gut, can be causing a heightened immune response, inflammation. So that would be everything you're eating then is passing through to your bloodstream that doesn't belong there. It shouldn't have hit through your gut wall yet. And so these bigger proteins, these bigger food particles are now in your bloodstream, and your immune system is doing a perfect job of saying, invader, alert. So bring on the inflammation, and then it's systemic. So then it's in your blood. You have inflammatory cells in your blood, And depending on where your own personal genetic weak link is where you may be experiencing pain.
It's
It
like
may
a
be-
horror story.
It is, but it's an awesome horror story only because there is a solution. It's not like a horror story that we don't understand. We didn't understand it until about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. The new science around it is just outrageously cool. Like, we had an idea, but now we have the evidence. So we know this is happening. We know your immune system is activated. We know that there's this chronic inflammation. So that inflammation is never turning off. It's supposed to turn on. It's supposed to turn off. It's supposed to turn on. It's supposed to turn off. And when you have that leaky gut, it's constantly on. So this is why there's got to be a methodical approach, because otherwise it's like, oh my God, my head is spinning. What do I do? So I have kind of a system that works, really well for some people, and other people it takes time, but I'm going to share that with you. And I just wanted to go through those big concepts first so you understood how that works. So the foods, like the most, common culprits for inflammation for all humans, the most common ones for all humans, that's where I start first. And some people start with one at a time because this can be a really big change for people nutritionally. And, but what I suggest people do is trying these first ones for even 1 week. I mean, even just 1 week and see how you feel. 2 weeks, see how you feel. 3 weeks seems to be like this magic number where the gut really has time to repair and inflammation really has a chance to come down. But my favorite place to start that gets the most results for people is, temporarily reducing or eliminating gluten. We throw that word around a lot, but the proteins in gluten, so that's wheat, barley, rye, spelt, the protein in gluten, some people have a sensitivity to, but everybody, it's just hard to digest. It is a hard protein to digest, which can cause that hyperpermeable leaky gut, which, is that whole cascade of inflammation. So gluten, dairy, sugar, and like fried food and vegetable oils. So those are the 4 big hitters, and everybody is different. For some people, that's like telling them to, I don't even know. That's really, really hard. And I get that. So, you can start with 1. For some people, it's not such a big deal, so they can jump right in. And my goal is not to reduce people's diets a lot. I want people eating as much food as they can possibly eat, but sometimes it's just it's what you were saying. It's just a chance to shift gears and to turn that pain off, to turn that inflammation down so that you can maybe heal your gut, your body can become more resilient, and you should feel a difference. So most of the people I work with, it's amazing eliminating those things. And by oils and fats, I mean corn oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, those more inflammatory oils. But those 4 are the big hitters. And so if there isn't resolution after that, we can take it to the next step and then take it to the next step. But that's the layers, and that's the one with the biggest bang for your buck. And after you've worked with food, only then is it time to think about, little infections that might be going on, or mold, or heavy metals. Those are like farther down the line. If those, eliminating those big foods at the beginning don't work. And then, so we take away, but then we also add. And I really love focusing more on what we're eating than what we're not eating, because I love food. And I think food should just be delicious and beautiful and smell good and taste good and feel good. So for some people, it does require this phase of, thinking about what you're not eating. But again, really focusing on what we are eating. And so I love when people focus on vegetables, of course, roasted, steamed, sauteed, fruit's amazing. Proteins are great. Clean animal proteins is where I tend to, they're the least reactive for people. And I do work with a lot of vegetarians and we have that discussion. But
Can you talk about clean a little bit? Because I think clean. Yeah.
So another one, and so many of these things are round robin like this. So clean proteins mean when you can, because I know that finances are definitely a roadblock for a lot of people. But first of all, proteins should be the smaller part of your meal. So it's not like we're having this gigantic steak. And so they're the smaller part. And when you do eat them, so those clean proteins would be grass-fed, organic, pasture raised. And the reason is, there's a few reasons. One reason is that some of the foods those animals are fed are actually inflammatory for our bodies. What the animal eats contributes to if that protein is actually inflammatory or anti-inflammatory, what kind of omega fats are in it. We don't want to get a lot of hormones from the animals because that can be inflammatory to have a hormone imbalance. And when we ingest the hormones that animals have been given or antibiotics that animals have been given, that influences the terrain of our body as well. So the cleaner our proteins, the less of an influence it has on the integrity of our gut and how our immune system is going to react to those different constituents in food. So when you can, organic, grass-fed, pastured, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but those are the big ones. And like I said, it should be the smaller part of your, I say like the palm of your hand. I like visuals. And maybe 75%, and this is a shift of your plate, is vegetables, leafy greens, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, all sorts of, as many colors as you can possibly get, because those colors are loaded with antioxidants and anti-inflammatories that actually help put out the fire. So they not only are nutritious, but they actually help put out the fire. And can I just go into some of my other favorite anti-inflammatory?
Yeah, I think a term I've been using, because like I work with people with diet, but if simple things don't work, then I refer to somebody like Janel for them. Is to say, it doesn't matter if you eat meat or not, make it a plant-based diet.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's mostly plants.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about vegetarian or vegan or whatever, and the like political stuff around that, just plant-based, right?
Right. Yeah, and if you have to peel the onions away a little bit more, then you sometimes do have to go there. But yeah, mostly plants, no matter what. And delicious plants with sauces and herbs and spices and healthy fats. Clean fats, of course, are really, really important because healthy fats make us feel full. And
can you name
and of course, yeah. And of course, they're good for our brain and all of our cells that are that rely on healthy fats. So, and we know now that fat doesn't make us fat. It's, sugar and extra calories in the form of sugar that contributes to hard time with extra pounds. But so healthy fat is really good. And my favorite healthy fats are olive oil, coconut oil, olives, fatty fish, walnuts, nuts and seeds in general. And yeah, those are my favorite big ones. Avocado oil, I really like to use. Any coconut product, coconut milk, I really love. All of them are loaded with really good, healthy fats. And how I think about fats of a meal is usually like half of a golf ball. So that's my visual for each meal. Should, you know, have a good amount of healthy fat. It helps with, you know, blood sugar and again, satiation. So really important. So we've talked now mostly vegetables, fruits are good, a little bit of protein, and always a good healthy fat. So, and those healthy fats are great for reducing inflammation as well. So, yeah, double whammy, triple whammy, because we could talk about all the other things, but really good. And then some of my other favorite foods to help put out the fire. So we talked about, you know, the common foods to remove if you need to, if you are looking to resolve symptoms and chronic pain, and then what foods we want to bring in. And ginger, turmeric, am I blanking now? Olive oil, like I already mentioned, brightly colored fruits and vegetables, blueberries, greens, walnuts, green tea. I really love green tea. It has some great anti-inflammatory components to it. So those are some of my favorites. What are some of your favorites, Nancy?
Fermented foods. Yeah. And I pretty much have some fermented foods in every meal. I start out, and I know you're apple cider vinegar, but I'm a sauerkraut person. I guess all the German in me. But then at lunchtime, I've been adding a little umeboshi plum, olives, and then teas. You know, digestive teas with all those like those herbs that you talk about, and pretty much start my day. Just get my gut happy with all that. So, and I did this winter, I did like 19 days of not, of that kind of elimination diet, just took those things out. And my gut feels great. And you know, I have my little chocolate, put the sugar back in because I like it. You know, bread is just like, my husband eats bread. I just have a little piece with a lot of butter. And so, you know, but it's not like, it's just better. I even had some eggs, which were bothering me for a lot of years. I would just, after the day after eggs, I would just be like, I would be so tired. That's how I usually know something isn't working in me, because my symptoms start pain. It's like digestive, it's tiredness. And I just like had some, and it wasn't a problem next day. So I feel like I went through a period of letting my gut heal, like you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And sometimes it takes, you know, reducing so much inflammation that we actually can notice what is impacting us. Because sometimes when there's so much chronic inflammation, we can't even tell each little food that's impacting us. So it's by doing that, you know, initial 2-3 week elimination, our gut can heal a bit, and then we become a little bit more in tune with what works and what doesn't, and we become more resilient, like you said, so that we can tolerate more as our gut heals. And it becomes this like tipping point. Oh, I can have it. Oh, nope, I tipped the scale and it became too much, and now I have, you know, that fatigue, now I have that joint pain, now I have a headache. So you go, okay, I learned a little bit, now we're going to go back. And so that's why it's this ongoing process. But I'll say, I didn't even mention, you said probiotics, and because healing the gut is such a big component, yes, probiotics, fermented foods. I mean, probiotics, if you don't eat fermented foods, and sometimes there, you know, is a phase where you might want to add a couple of really high quality probiotics. I will say not all probiotics are made the same. They're all extremely different, and you want to make sure they actually get to your gut. But bone broth, if you eat animal products, collagen, bone broth, those are full of gut healing nutrients. So I always have people incorporate those if they are working towards healing their gut and eliminating symptoms, and if they eat animal products, obviously.
I think one of, the other things that I wanted to bring up, so we had kind of our three main things were exercise, eating well, and then step into relaxation. So maybe I'll
Can I
talk
say
a
one
little-
more thing
Oh yeah,
really
absolutely.
quick? I'm sorry, I just thought of
That's good.
something.
That's good.
Sometimes I want everyone just to consider this, that the medications that they are taking for pain can
Mhm.
actually be snowballing the problem and causing more of a problem. I'm not a purist. My husband's a physician. So there's definitely time in the world for medicine. And when we need it, it is amazing and wonderful. But so often with over-the-counter medications and even, bigger pain meds, we don't consider the effect that they have. And when we take into account how important that gut health is to our chronic pain, we need to consider the medications we're taking, because so many medications cause a leaky gut. So again, I'm not saying if you need something, stay on it. If it's helping you in some way, by all means, stay on it. But if it's something that you're just popping for, headaches and joint pain and all this, to just consider that there are other ways to address it and that it might be causing more of a problem. So some of my favorite different natural constituents to add to help with pain are actually ginger, curcumin, and bromelain, and there's a few other ones, but that you actually, to impact that pain, might have to take it in more of a capsule form just to relieve, the big acute pain. And so those three are really, really powerful anti, they really combat pain. And and then there's also topical ones that you can use as well, but like MSM and the constituent in cayenne chili peppers that you can rub on joints that are sore. But again, ginger, curcumin, and bromelain are three natural ways to fight pain. And you just have to make sure you take enough of it, but to give it a try, because it might do the trick without causing more of a problem.
Yes, those are the things I use. And I know if people are on heart medication, they have to be careful with those.
And no matter what, ask your physician before
Yeah.
you obviously start any new diet or herbs or any of that. So
Yeah.
you can always, check your medications, make sure that new eating plan is right for you.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, what I do is I juice some ginger, but you can buy ginger juiced, and then Jim, we both like grape juice, and so I say, here's your juice medicine. I give him some grape juice and I put some ginger juice in, and I use that all winter to keep warm, to be truthful too. But when I get achy and sore from maybe working out too much, or because I teach, sometimes I can have ginger in me within a few hours. All that workout pain is gone. I also take like turmeric or curcumin pretty regularly. Right now, I'm sometimes I take it in pill form, but right now I'm just making it into a little drink with honey and sometimes milk. But sometimes I just want honey water. And what was the third one you said?
bromelain, it's
Bromelain. Now, bromelain is in the stalk of your pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
Don't cut the stalk away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
it's, don't cut the stalk away. But but you can find these lovely mixes that put together. But again, if you're on other medication, check those out. But I have to take those things, not always, but partly because I live in a construction zone, and I have to just do crazy things with Jim sometimes, and I get really sore because I didn't have enough heat again, but it's okay. but we're on the other side of that. So yeah, so it's just like, and you know what, the thing about like those things you mentioned are a normal part of some indigenous cultures eating. They're just unfortunately using cayenne, using garlic is another anti-inflammatory. These things are part of, you know, cultures, and we've just kind of gotten this bland thing going on. But when you eat them every day, they're part of all the meals that you eat, then they build up in your system. But I don't use all those spices. We just use salt and pepper when I was growing up. I try, but I need to take these things on more of a medicinal level. So to feel really good. So I was telling somebody, I don't know if you knew this, but when I was younger, I sold drugs, and I just went from drugs into supplements. That's just me. So anyway, I do want to talk about relaxation. Okay. So when you'll like this, when we have inflammation in our gut, our body produces cortisol, which is the stress hormone, to go in and fight inflammation. And a lot of people like, why is my tummy a little bigger than I want it? Is sometimes can be traced to a high cortisol level. So when we have inflammation in our body, our body is trying to fix it, and it uses cortisol, and then we have maybe some weight gain that we wish we didn't have. So what can help that also are relaxation exercise, like I talked about, just sitting in front of a TV. It is a distraction. We have things that are distraction, but things that truly, truly bring about a deep nervous system response. And I watch movies and stuff, but that deep response, even reading is better than movies, the way it interacts with your mind. And so, and people say, Nancy, I can't meditate. You know what? To be truthful, I've been in this stuff for years, and I can't always meditate. I'm going through a lot of business growth right now. Once I sit down and be quiet, all I'm thinking about is business growth, right? And so I have to do guided meditations, but also the breathing, the pranayama exercises. If you come to yoga classes, those are really helpful. Those capture my mind enough to work with them. And so that's kind of these disruptors, right? Exercise, eating well, and digestion and relaxation. These are your disruptors. And seriously, it could take a while to disrupt it, to peel away, like Janel was saying.
And I don't want to, yes, I 100% agree with you. I love how you're approaching this. And I just have to say one more thing that I do with clients, small, that really is part of that formula you just mentioned, is sleep. Because when we are sleep deprived, our perception of pain is elevated. So coming back to sleep can actually help with pain, or your perception of pain. So I always include that as well.
That's right. Yeah. That's part of my formula that I forgot. So.
That's why we're here together.
Yes. Absolutely. So we have a few minutes. And so if you have any questions, if you want to unmute and ask any questions, we can go.
I actually see a question in the chat box that, that I can answer. So the question is bad veggies. Do you want to clarify? Are you asking if there are bad veggies? Is that the question? I'm guessing that's the question.
Yes, that is my question.
Okay. So you can always find something that doesn't work for people, but I would recommend that, anyone could have a sensitivity to a particular food, is my point. My sister is sensitive to strawberries. I mean, does that make strawberries bad? No way. Strawberries are amazing. So generally speaking, I would say there are no bad vegetables, unless they are like fried or, deep fried or something. No, I would say off the top of my head, I can't think of any bad veggies, but could it be that if you clean things up and you eliminate those top ones and you're still not resolving your problem, that in 10 years you might find that you're responding to a specific vegetable, maybe. But no, I would say there aren't bad veggies. Now, what can happen is if you have a dysbiosis in your gut, so if you have, so in your gut, you have tons of bacteria, right? There's really helpful bacteria, and then there's pathogenic bacteria that's more harmful, but it's there for a reason. It just needs to be less than the healthy bacteria. And when we get an imbalance in, maybe the bad bacteria gets to be more than the good, or if that bacteria migrates from your large intestine to your small intestine, when you eat vegetables, it might feel bad. It might cause bloating. So that can be a bit of a confusion for people, that especially that haven't eaten a lot of fiber. If you start eating a ton of salads and if you start eating a ton of raw vegetables and your gut bacteria is off, it might cause bloating. So sometimes with people, I have to work slowly with raw vegetables if they're having that reaction. But in that situation, we would, work on the bacteria in the gut. And then always, if you're, being affected by veggies, cooked vegetables, steamed vegetables, roasted vegetables, soups are easier to digest if there's that gut imbalance. So I hope that makes sense, that veggies are amazing and wonderful. I love them, but sometimes when there's a kink in the system that needs to be healed first, then those foods can be wonderful. So I hope that helped.
And I think that's one of the things we learned even way back in our yoga therapy training, was just to really, eat those soups and those stews and make all those vegetables really cooked as part of an initial healing process from even when you're just run down or sick or anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jane, did you have something?
I have a question, Nancy and Janelle. Thank you to you both for your information tonight. Very helpful. Could you talk about your point of view on legumes and any point of view on how they affect your digestion, positive, negative? I know they're a source of protein for a lot of vegetarians, but there's also a lot of carbohydrates in them. Anyway, we'd like to hear your outlook on those guys.
Can I go quick and then I know you have more to say. So when I talked about when I was 45, I wasn't able to eat legumes. They were really bothering my stomach and a lot. And I was able to work through them with some digestive aids. And now, because I'm vegan, they are my top protein. But, way back then I was having problems with them. And they are like lentils. Like I try to make a big pot of lentils every week, and then I have them for lunch every day because they're so high in protein. But again, for me right now, it's adding those fermented foods in, make things digestible. And there's plenty of fermented foods out there to try. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's where it starts to get a little bit tricky. So I mentioned the first step, which is avoiding those 4 big culprits that were dairy, gluten, sugar, and inflammatory fats. And again, that's just for a period of time to heal and to then introduce them back and see how your body responds. Now, if people don't have success at that level and they're still looking to reduce their symptoms, then yes, the next step that I take with people is paleo. And paleo would be just those same things I mentioned. And you would also eliminate all grains and beans. And that's because grains and beans have different chemical constituents in them that are hard to digest. And so if there is some sort of gut imbalance, they can be contributing to the problem. So for some people, okay, we're on that next level. We might see some, real symptom relief and some gut healing, and then we add them back and we see what happens. oh, great. Now you can tolerate them because you healed your gut. You got your bacteria balanced. You've got your digestive enzymes flowing. You've sealed that leaky gut. We're good to go. You've increased your resilience. Some people introduce them back. Nope, not yet. Some people can take them a little bit and then the scale tips again and it gets to be too much and they have to scale back. So I can't stress enough that it's really individual, and what worked for your neighbor and what worked for your aunt is not necessarily going to work for you. You're going to need your own personal formula. And I think that is super empowering instead of being frustrating, because again, it's just a process and it's not like you're missing something. If you have tried all these things and you still have chronic pain, there isn't a magic formula. So there's just steps to take, things to try, see how you feel. And so yes, grains and legumes would be my next tier down in paleo. See what happens. Again, introduce them back. And all the while restoring gut function.
Thank you. That is a good question, because a lot of people are bothered, and some people aren't at all.
So you could just eliminate them and see what's true for you. That's what I
Yeah.
always suggest. See what's right for you.
I actually did have some tuna the other day, Janelle, and because once in a while I'll have some fish, and I had some tuna, and usually it doesn't settle well in my stomach, but I mixed in a whole bunch of really good pickles, and I was like, woo, that went down really nice. I liked it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now we had a question from Julie about do I make my own sauerkraut and other fermented foods? And I do not make my own sauerkraut yet, even though I keep buying things to make it, because I failed twice, and Janelle has not done the workshop she said she was going to do. So that's why I'm not making, but no, my olives, my good pickles, not pickles with the pickles that are made, like not the ones at the regular grocery store, the ones that are in usually the cold section, and the sauerkraut. And I wish I was, because it's expensive, but I still buy it. But I wish I was making it. So that's the question.
My question.
I make my own, and it's so easy. Whoever
I know.
asked that, make your own sauerkraut. It's super easy, and there's great material online. So, and it's so good for all the different bacteria.
That's what I was going to ask is, why are fermented foods? Are they like probiotic? Is that why they're so good for your gut?
Exactly. They are the best kind of bacteria to, set the stage for your gut. And then you feed that bacteria good vegetables and fibers, but you seed it with the fermented foods. And then if people don't eat that, with the probiotics. And it is just so important.
Wow.
It is the part of the boundary between the outside world and the inside world is your microbiome. And that is the bacteria. And that is from fermented foods.
And when I used to travel a lot to Greece, and I'd bring my sauerkraut with me. And then I realized, like, seriously, they're an old culture. They must have their own, and it's olives and feta cheese.
Right.
So I started to just, when I went there, make sure that, because I was leading the retreats and the trainings, I want to make sure there's feta at breakfast and there's olives at breakfast, stuff like that. So.
And you're getting all of those new good bacteria strains that you wouldn't get here. So,
yeah. Deborah.
Yeah. So here's a weird question. For a very, very long time, I've suffered from like muscle pain, which sometimes I was told it was fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
So for over the years, I've tried stretching and yoga, and even, aerobic exercise like walking is very good for it. But even if I did, like Nancy, your intense chair yoga workout, it leaves my muscles feeling like painful,
Mm-hmm.
more so than if I was just resting. So my son said something interesting when we had gone for a walk, and he said, oh, because he had worked out the day before, he had lactic acidosis or something. So I was doing a little research on that, and I didn't really have all the symptoms of that. But I had this like chronic muscle pain, almost kind of like flu-like pain sometimes, and it comes and it goes, and like it can be worse after exercise. So what do I do about that?
Well, I think one of the things is after exercise causes inflammation.
Okay.
But the stronger you are, your body produces less inflammation. So I would think that, and this is my thought, addressing to your diet is probably the best way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But just to realize, oh, there's this extra stress I just put my body through. Do I have enough liquid in me? Do I have enough protein in me?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll defer to Janel.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm paying much more attention to my water and fluid because I've been so bad, so lazy about that. It's just crazy.
Water, take a deep breath first.
Yeah.
That's the first defense. Water is the second defense. Then all this other stuff.
All right. Now I'm keeping a bottle of water by my bed, so in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, Deborah, I just want to tell you that that's hard, and you're working a lot harder than other people. And I work with a lot of people with fibromyalgia and chronic pain, like muscle pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really hard. And, but I will say I have seen dramatic effects of working through, and that's exactly why it doesn't matter. You're not going to really find one cause of these things, rarely ever. That's why reducing the overall amount of chronic inflammation. So I like to think of it as a bucket, and you have all of these different stressors going into your bucket, and that could be your inflammation bucket. You have all these different stressors, and then eventually it overflows and you have muscle pain every day. And so you might not find the biggest stressor coming in, but again, by reducing those biggest offenders and healing your gut, you will become more resilient and hopefully feel less pain. So I would highly encourage you with that kind of pain to focus on eliminating a few things and seeing if you can reduce that inflammation. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And just see see if it's true for you.
Yeah, good. I'm ready.
Yeah, I bet. That's really hard.
Well, friends, I just want to thank you so much for these questions. And for those of you who are members of Underhill Life, Janel, Janel is very faithfully puts up more information for us every month. And she's, and I post that in our Facebook group. She's happy to interact with people, like she did. The one she put up was on leaky gut. I mean, her column is like pure gold in Underhill Life. So just know that that's there. Or you can go to her website, Mountain Rebalance, and you want to tell them what programs you have going on?
Yeah, so I have a women's hormone group every winter. And I do a spring cleanse every spring. And then I'm just starting this year, I'm going to finally do a gut club, a gut healing club, which is going to be awesome. I mean, all of us could use some gut repair. So that's really fun. And then I have a anti-inflammatory program coming out too. So there's a lot, and I work with people one-on-one. But it's super fun, and it's super empowering to learn about your body and to find what's true for you. So I just encourage you all to be curious, and and remember, it's a journey.
So so if you're not on Janel's email list, you go to her website, mountainrebalance.com, and then you sign into her website, and then you get 43 recipes also. So that's really good. And I also want, for me, I want to let you know that I'm doing a gentle healing reset journey. And it's all about just like 21 days stuff to relax you. Breathing practices, other practices, mindfulness practices. And that's just what it is. It's like May 3rd through the 21st. So I just thought, yeah, I just feel like I have enough people that are like, okay, enough of the year and 5 points of wellness, Nancy. I need to relax more. So I'm doing that. And then in 2 weeks, I'm doing, I'm trying to do bi-monthly webinars. And in 2 weeks, I'm with my sister, my big sister, who lives in Scotland, and she is Ms. Climate Change, but she's also Buddhist and talks really about how to approach that climate change in a mindful way. So I'm excited about working with her. She's my big sister. She's slightly scary, but I think they all are. And so that's what's going on. And I will send you this tomorrow, the replay. And we're just really so grateful that you could make it. And we had such a nice show of people from all over. And so really so grateful for that. And I just Janelle, thank you for taking time out of your time in Mexico to be with us. And I'm sorry, but she's in like Lake Tahoe when she's not in Mexico. So yeah, we'll all go visit. And but it was good to spend time with you, Janelle. Thank you so much. I'm just
Nancy, can you repeat Janelle's website slowly?
Mountain
Okay.
Rebalance.
Okay. Thank you.
.com. Yeah, sorry. I'll have to listen to how that sounds when I slur it all. Okay. But anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
So much love to
Thank
you
you
all.
very-
Good. I'll look forward to
Thank
the
you
next
all.
time I see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, Julie. Mwah. Extra love to you. Yeah. Okay. You're on mute, so I can't hear you. Okay.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you. Good to see you.
I'm so glad to see you too. Thank you. This was wonderful and very timely too.
Oh, good.
So I really appreciate it. Take
Good.
care, my dear.
All right, take care.
Give my love to Jim.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye.